each tradition of shamanism is essentially the same. They're all about healing and magic divination through observing nature, reading the signs she puts out for us, journeying through meditation into the depths of the earth and out to the ends of the universe, repairing the energetic anatomy of the self through what has been dubbed in core shamanism as soul retreat, a process which entails finding while in the journey the lost parts of the patient which show up to the shaman's consciousness as power animals or objects or articles of clothing or even just fragments of spirit. Most of these parts were lost in a traumatic moment where this part of the self was lost because of a violent negative exchange in our idea of the self or the world. In short, loss of innocence. Other parts, though, are integrated into the shaman for power, clarity, and strength. This translated in the quantum world as vibrations, energy, lost, found, integrated, or in some cases, illness and disease removed from the person's energy field. I talked about the 0-point energy field earlier. I mentioned that. So what is the 0-point energy field? It's this field of pure energy that is between all particles of all levels. Particles like that have electrons that have a slow enough vibration that the electrons in my hand bounce off that and make it impact. And also more subtle energies with higher vibration. Things pass through things here. The electrons are moving faster. Yeah. In quantum mechanics, there's an idea called it's an indeterminacy theory. So when an object has electrons that are moving fast enough, or it's really just a particle has electrons moving fast enough, other particles may actually pass through it. So I've seen a very interesting representation of this. So there are all these pictures of these people who are trying to generate enough energy, just doing Reiki, doing energy work, trying to generate enough energy so that they could produce matter. You know, they weren't taking a lot of other laws into effect, but they had very interesting results with photographs taken of people's hands while they were doing this. So they would have their hand up, and you're doing all this, and then you would see in the background, you would see bits of the background through their hand. Because the vibration of the particles, their own physical body, had gone so fast, so high. No, wrong, it's indeterminacy theory. That the particles of light that were bouncing off the object behind their hand were actually moving through their hand. And you can pick them up with a camera. It's a 0-point field. It's this field where we have all these particles, and then in between the particles, almost like a synapse connection, a temporary synapse connection. You know, the hairs and the beard of God trickling down and all. We have this particle that appears for a fraction of a second. There, it's gone. Just long enough for the energy to move. Just long enough for God to move through the ether. still, in our organized religions, hear the echoes of shamanism. Buddhism, Taoism, Christian, Jewish, mysticism, just to name a few. It's all come from this place of basic and at times enhanced spiritual connectedness. I think Bradford Keene said it pretty well in his book, Shaking Out the Spirits, a psychoanalyst's journey to the healing mysteries of global shamanism. The great traditions of shamanism, with their emphasis upon direct communication with the spirit world, teach us that the boundaries imposed by religious institutions and the texts are artificial. Siberian shamans may commune with the Virgin Mary. Native American medicine people may converse with Christ. And Christian shamans may fly with people. There is a sacred circle connecting everything that is holy. Independent of which tradition one enters, the ascents and descents of an impeccable spiritual journey will always lead to that one center point of great stillness. There we surrender and die to be reborn to the hope that a meaningful life is made through the action of being a good steward. We truly receive all we need. We give all we have. This is all we need to know. And yet he goes on to say that we live in a time where our great mother and many children are struggling to survive. Our oldest custodians, the ancient cultural healing traditions, face the danger of extinction. Our stewardship must immediately address these traditions and the custodians of life. We cannot afford a future without them. We cannot wait any longer to act. We must return home to the calm center of the sacred circle of you. In the words of T.S. Eliot, we must become a condition of complete simplicity, costing no less than ever. And all shall be well. The future requires nothing less. Still have this idea of God. All these other gods, all these other religions. So are they supernatural beings which predate our existence? Are they, as some people speculate, aliens from another world or dimension? I would have to say that the gods, all of them, from the Greek to the Egyptians, from Celtic to the Norse, from Indian to the Judeo-Christian, are all archetypal representations of facets of the universal consciousness, which we see in nature and reflected within ourselves. Mythology is the original psychology, the picking apart of our own minds and reconciling our relationship to the world on a conscious level. They're transubstantiations, thought into ethereal or vibrational reality of mass belief. Thus, many of them still exist, largely in newer forms, but also from ancient texts and literature as thought forms. Something that exists just in the collective subconscious of humanity. So the old idea of God or goddess being dead because it has no followers is pretty accurate. There, no followers. Followers meaning people who believe, people who think about it, people who bring the idea to the surface of man's mind, or at least somewhere here close to it. When we work with these archetypes, the important thing to remember is that you're not just worshiping something. It's always been that we try to emulate, we try to take in the qualities, the virtues, virtue being subjective, the virtues of the deity that we're worshiping. To remember that we ourselves are part of that universal consciousness. It's part of the universe we've been growing and evolving since the Big Bang. So we're part of the divine presence. Inseparably. Unquestionably. Buddha Siddhartha once said, we all have Buddha nature. They're all Buddhas in disguise. Buddha means the awakened one. Someone came up to, might have been Buddha Gautama, and asked him, are you God? He said, no, not a God, not God. So are you a saint? No, not a saint. That's placing too much importance on the self. So what are you? I'm awake. Buddha simply means the awakened one. Just as Christ means the anointed. It doesn't mean Son of God. It means there's that special guy over there who somehow gets it, he's somehow connected. He's special. It's not what does it mean really Son of God? We've taken that whole thing out of proportion. So he was recorded to say in John chapter 14, verse 12, where he said this mainly to his disciples, but his disciples all knew. And thus, because they were involved in spiritual work, alchemists. The work that I do, ye shall do. And then he adds to this, and greater works than these you shall do, for I go unto my Father. And he said this as a successful alchemist, knowing that he was about to achieve or reunion with God, or at least the Son of God makes up this universe. When I said I wasn't going to try and put God into a story, it was only because I didn't have enough time to really give you a full history of everything that's ever been, everything that is, including you, pieces of universal awareness. This is a little out there. It's part of the psychedelic movement. It's Bill Hicks. See, this wonderful little quote. Today, a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration, that we are all of one consciousness, experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream within the imagination of ourselves. Now here's Tom with the weather, as if it were part of a news broadcast, so matter of fact, as it should be. We're all part of this. All of us. All of us. Leave you with a poem, another poem by Rumi. Don't come to our party without a drum. Sit up and play the melody. I am God. That's all we want to hear. Now drink and get drunk on the wine that cannot be found, even in paradise. Thank you.